An early win for parties left. House Democrats back off tax rule. And there's Ro Khanna. All right, so here's what's going on. House Democrats have backed off a proposed rule that would have made it more difficult for them to raise taxes and pass their most ambitious goals. This is an early victory for the left flank of the party that is about to take control of the House. Representative Jim McGovern in Massachusetts, incoming chair of the House Rules Committee, told lawmakers Tuesday he will not advance supermajority rules requiring 3/5 majorities to approve tax hikes for most taxpayers. According to Rep. Mark Placone, Democrat of Wisconsin, co-chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. An existing rule created by House Republicans requires a 3/5 supermajority vote in the House to approve any income tax increases. House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi and other Democratic leaders proposed leaving the supermajority intact for most taxpayers while scrapping the requirement for the wealthiest 20% of Americans and for corporations. But some liberal organizations and lawmakers said that did not go far enough, arguing that even the weaker rule would make it nearly impossible to enact progressive legislation such as Medicare for All or free universal college. Basically, look, we need extensive solutions for an extensive problem. We can't kind of beat around the bush with this, basically. We're very glad to see that one go away. Okay. So I think this is a good thing just on the surface, that they're basically just saying, look, we have some big proposals. If this involves tax increases, that's what it involves. It should also involve a reallocation of the budget, but we got to start somewhere, basically. And there's a lot of loopholes that still protect the rich within this. So those go away as well. Now, here's the part. A lot of people are saying this means PayGo is gone. Now, here's another part of this article. Democrats also face internal division over leadership support for the pay-as-you-go rule known as PayGo, which will require new spending or tax cut legislation to be paid for without adding to the deficit. So this has to do with the deficit. That's what PayGo also has to do with. Henry Conley, a spokesman for Pelosi, said the rule was unnecessary to prevent Democrats from hiking taxes on the middle class. He also noted that House Republicans waived their rule to pass their tax law in 2017 because the legislation did raise taxes on some families. Unlike the House GOP, at the end of the day, the Democratic majority doesn't need an arcane rule to keep our promise to the middle class. Okay. And they point out the richest fifth of taxpayers are those who make more than $108,000 annually. So, here's where I'm at. It seems like this does not eliminate PayGo. It seems like what this does, it just eliminates the tax rule that would make it difficult to raise taxes for certain social programs. It's saying we don't want that rule, we don't want that burden, because we have some ambitious plans that would change the way resources are allocated. Medicare for All would change the way resources would be allocated, because instead of paying a private insurer, you would then have a tax. So by having this rule, this tax rule, where we need a supermajority to change anything with taxes. And the Democrats were calling for some exemption, but you need the rule completely gutted for something like Medicare for All to go through, because the Republicans would just block it via a tax. However, PayGo requires that you can't add to the deficit to bring anything forth. To bring any proposal forth, you can't add to the deficit. You have to find a way to pay for it in other ways. So, while this allows taxing as an option, it does not eliminate PayGo as an idea. This does not mean PayGo is dead. That is my understanding of this. Am I missing something? Because I've seen a couple people sharing this, saying PayGo is dead. Reading in between the lines, it seems like that's not the case. That's just definitionally not what's going on. Am I missing something? Maybe I am. I'm reading this article for the first time with you guys. This is Get Your News On with Ron. Not Ron's telling you your news. Get Your News On with Ron. What am I missing? Am I missing something? Karen says, I think you're right. Emma says, yep. All right, totally agree. Yep. No. Emma says PayGo is not dead. PayGo equals phony Democrat. Brian Jeffries, as long as Pelosi lives, so does PayGo. Okay, so you guys are kind of... Am I missing something? Like, am I missing... Like, is there anything I'm missing here? And maybe there is. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not saying I know all the answers. I'm just saying it seems like this doesn't mean... Because PayGo has to do with the deficit... So you would still need to not add to the deficit under PayGo. So this whole thing, eliminating this tax rule where you need 3/5 majority to raise taxes, that doesn't eliminate PayGo. That just has more options for taxes, which is what we would need for something like Medicare for All to happen, because that reallocates our resources. And if they can just strike it down via saying no new tax, well then that's what the Republicans would do. But this doesn't mean PayGo's gone. PayGo seems like another hurdle. So please let me know if I'm missing something. Because otherwise, I'm going to conclude this doesn't mean PayGo is dead. Ha! Tim brings up a funny point. Does PayGo mean you pay me, then go away? Love it. Daniel agrees. A dingo makes a good analogy here. Correct, they put the tax thing out as insurance, like using 2 condoms. That's a really good analogy. Oh, by the way, using 2 condoms doesn't work. So I know I have some young people in my audience, which really makes me happy. I know I've met some of you at shows. I've met at the Austin show. There were 3 very young guys that were there, and I'll be totally honest, I thought they were lost. And when they were there for the show and were stoked and sat up front, I was really excited, and they were 3 awesome young men, and it was so cool to have them there, and I was really honored that they were there for the show. I honestly thought they were lost, because my show in Austin was a show for was part of this big event called the East Walk, which is this big walk they have on the east side. So I thought those guys thought they were going to something else. So it was way cool that they were there for the show, and I'm not saying this to you know, I'm not saying that I'm saying this that I'm flattered that, you know, I appeal to young people, and by young people I mean teenagers. I am. Some of you guys are saying I'm a young person, which I appreciate that very much too, but I'm not a teenager. And I'm just saying I was very honored and flattered that they were there. It really makes me happy that there are some people in their teens and even younger. I've had some 12-year-olds show up with their parents to my shows, which is freaking awesome. And that makes me feel really freaking good. So anyway, I'm saying if you're a younger person and you're watching, don't ever use 2 condoms. It does not work. Don't do that. I've never done it. I just know it doesn't work. Don't do it. That's all I'm saying. Don't do it. And Marsh is pointing out that PayGo is just BS. Of course it is. Student email says use 3. That's funny, but don't actually do that. Trying to make sure I give sound advice here. Don't actually do that. Sylvia, you are only as old as you feel. Age, it's just a number. You're only as old as you feel. I know 20-year-olds that are older than 72-year-olds, if you know what I mean. And I mean that. I really do mean that. You're only as old as you feel. I had a birthday recently. I'm not a big fan of my birthday, but you know, I'm really trying to tell myself it's nothing but a number. Andrew, you are not older than me. We are the same age. Although I just turned recently, so you know, I don't know. So, last call. Is there something I'm missing, or is this an accurate reading of it? This doesn't mean PayGo's dead. It just means that a tax hurdle is overcome, but PayGo is just another hurdle all on its own because it has something to do with the deficit, not necessarily just with taxing people. Is that a correct reading? Am I missing something? Nathan saying not a fan of WAPO. I'm not either. I just, again, the only reason I saw it is because other people were sharing it. And I was like, does this mean? And then I read it, and I'm like, I don't think that means, all right. I mean, it's still good news. It's not bad news. It is not bad news, because that's a necessary hurdle for something like free college or Medicare for All, because it reallocates resources. So if you had some kind of bogus tax, quote, protection in disguise, which is what that was, the 3/5 supermajority, if you had that, Republicans could block Medicare for all. Well, Republicans and Democrats could block Medicare for all, could block free college. Taking out this tax hurdle, that's one less hurdle. But PayGo is still a hurdle on its own. All right, I think we're getting this one right. I'm pretty sure.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together